Today we're going to be reviewing for a measurement assessment that's coming tomorrow. So the thing with measurement that we're really looking at is how to convert. So to convert, to change from one to the other. How do you change from feet to inches or inches to feet? From feet to yards or yards to feet? How do you change from ounces to pounds and pounds to ounces? Or in the metric system, how do you change from a gram to a milligram or from a meter to a kilometer? So the idea is that the way that you change measurements is the same no matter what. If you're going from a bigger measurement to a smaller one, you're going to multiply because there are more of them. Okay? So even though they're smaller, you're going to have more. Okay? So you're dividing it up into smaller pieces, which means the amount of pieces you have are going to increase. So for example, if you have 1 foot, okay, so as long as you have this information, the idea is that you can just convert right between one and the other. Okay, so that if you have 1 foot and 1 foot equals 12 inches, so 1 foot equals 12 inches, that 2 feet would equal double that amount, would equal 24 inches. Notice, we're multiplying, right? You have 2 groups of 12. 3 feet would equal 36 inches, and so on and so forth, okay? You might see something tricky thrown in there. I don't think so, but you'll see it in other places. Like if you had 3.5 feet equals how many inches? And remember, 0.5 is the same thing as a half. So 3 feet would be 36 inches, and then a half of a foot would be 6. So you would have 42 inches. All right, so that's kind of how that works. And then if you go the other way, so if you go from smaller to bigger, what you're really doing is you're really dividing, okay? Because you have to take the smaller measurements and put them in groups in order to make the bigger measurement. And when we're grouping things, what we're really doing is splitting it evenly, which is division. So division isn't really about making something smaller. It's about making groups, okay? So in that case, if we had, let's see, feet and yards. So if we have 3 feet equals 1 yard, okay, right? So we're taking the bigger or the smaller measurement of feet and we're putting it into groups of 3 in order to make a yard. So if we had 9 feet, 9 feet would be made up of 3 groups of 3. So it would equal 3 yards. All right, so we're splitting it up. So for example, 9 divided by 3 is 3. So you can make 3 groups of 3. Okay, so you're going to get 3 yards. If you had, yeah, okay. I was going to do something a little bit crazier, but we're going to hold off. So that's kind of what you need to remember, okay? So you're going to divide going from smaller to bigger, and you're going to multiply going from bigger to smaller, okay? So let's take a look at making some conversions here. So all of these things, basically, in order to do this, you just have to know how much one of something is. So if you're converting from miles to feet or feet to miles, you have to know how many feet are in 1 mile. If you're converting from ounces to pounds or pounds to ounces, you have to know how many ounces are in a pound. So you have to know how much one of something equals in order to switch them back and forth. So for example, if I wanted to know how many ounces, so if I had 2 pounds, and actually remember we talked about you're going to see pounds abbreviated as LBS because of the Latin. So if we had 2 pounds and I wanted to know how many ounces it was going to make, I have to know how many ounces are in 1 pound. Okay, or how many pounds are in 1 ounce. In this case, 16 ounces makes 1 pound. So that means that 2 pounds is going to be 2 groups of 16. So it's going to multiply, okay? Because one group is going to be 16 and another group is going to be 16. So you get 2 times 16 is going to get you your ounces. So 2 times 6 is 12, carry the 1, 2, 3. So you can have 32 ounces, okay? So this is going to work across the board, whether you're dealing with metric or standard units of measure or capacity, like in our gallon model. In the gallon model, I love the gallon model because you have it divided up kind of really nicely and evenly in this picture, which you can totally draw to help you solve things. So like if you were to remember your G is a gallon. It takes 4 quarts to make a gallon. There's 2 pints in each quart. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pints in 1 gallon. And then there's 2 cups in a pint. So if you have 2 pints, you have 4 cups. If you have 1, 2, 3, 4 pints, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cups. And in a whole gallon, you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 cups. So it's kind of nice that that model works out pretty well. So if I were to change, if I were going to go over here and somebody asked me how many pints were in a gallon, so they want to ask me 1 gallon equals how many pints, right? I would just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equals 8 pints, which would then mean that 2 gallons would equal double that amount. And then going backwards, all right, a group of 8 pints is going to make a gallon. So if I had 48 pints and I wanted to know how many gallons there were, I would have to take my 48 and split it into groups of 8 because every 8 would make 1 gallon. So I would say, well, 48 is made up of 6 groups of 8 because 6 times 8 is 48, or 48 divided by 8 is 6, okay? So there's 6 groups of 8 and 48, so that's going to make 6 gallons. All right? Now the same thing is going to work for the metric system, except the nice thing about the metric system is since you're dealing with tens, hundreds, and thousands, really all you have to do is move the decimal. So in the metric system, it goes up and down by tens, hundreds, thousands. It's just like place value. As you go this way, your measurement's getting bigger. As you go this way, your measurement's getting smaller. All right, so if you have a meter, so here's 1. So if we have 1 meter, and we want to know how many millimeters there are. So you have M for milli. Milli means thousandths. So that means you take one of these and cut it into 1,000 pieces. So it equals 1,000 millimeters. I couldn't remember if I was doing meters or liters. All right, and the same thing would work for liters. So if you had 1 liter, it's going to equal 1,000 milliliters. If you have 1 gram, it's going to equal 1,000 milligrams. So the measurements go up and down by the same amount in the metric system, which is really nice. So that if you have 3 meters, you can have 3,000 of the smaller ones because each meter can be split up into 3. So basically what you're doing is you're taking 1 times 1,000. 3 times 1,000 is 3,000. And then you get something cool like this, and you have 4.67 meters equals how many millimeters? Well, the nice thing is because you're multiplying by 1,000, you just move your decimal 3 places. 1, 2, 3. So you're going to get 4,670. 4,670 millimeters. So it kind of works out nicely that way. Remember, as you go from one box to the next, you're going by tens. So if I was going from a centimeter or a centiliter to a milliliter, so if I had a centiliter, I'm going to do a capital L so it doesn't look like a 1. 1 centiliter, if I go this way, I'm dividing it from hundredths to thousandths. So I'm splitting it by 10 because remember, just like place value, each box is 10. So a centiliter divided by 10, so it's going to take 10 of these to make 1 of these. So 1 centiliter equals 10 milliliters. Okay? If I'm going up this way, if I'm going from here to here, I'm getting bigger, so I'm going to need more of these. So 1 meter, I'm going to need 1,000 meters to make a kilometer or kilometer, depending on how you say it. So if I'm going up, okay, so I'm going to need, this is no longer being divided, so going that way, we're splitting it up. I need more of them to make 1 of these. How many more? I need 1,000 of them to make a kilometer. kilometer. So I would need 1,000 of these to make one of these. Okay? If I had grams, I would need 1,000 grams to make 1 kilogram. And if I had liters, I would need 1,000 liters to make 1 kiloliter. And again, it's the same process, okay? If you know what 1 is, you can figure it out. So that means in order to make, if I had 2,000 liters, I would get 2 kiloliters. And then vice versa. If I had 3,000, oops, let me do it this way. If I had 3 kiloliters, I would have 3,000 liters. All right.